Shalom. Welcome to our daily Patreon class in Rabbi Nachman and Likutei Moharan, Tinyana. We are holding Torah Ayin Bet, and we are continuing with our understanding of how the tzaddik is the source of many things. He's the source of blessing. He's the source of expanded consciousness. He's also the source of humility. And today we're going to learn about another type of humility, which is called here busha, shame, but it's really positive shame, very positive. And so the word in English, shame, has a negative connotation, but in English, it doesn't really transcribe the idea of awe and the shame that's associated with awe. We call that in English, there's a dearth of words for that. But in Hebrew, it's yirah. It's awe associated with the greatness of things around us, and not the smallness of what we often see. The Rebbe begins, when a person wants to do a mitzvah, it's fitting that he should also have a fair quotient of busha. That he should feel the awesomeness about what he's going to do. He's going to take on the will of the king. Now, if the king picked up the phone and called you and asked you to do something for him, you'd be in awe. Any king, doesn't matter your country, another country. If some big famous person called you to do something, you'd be shaking, you'd be trembling, you'd be jittery, glittery, and also joyous in a curious kind of way. But when it comes to the King of the universe asking us to do something, it gets a little different, doesn't it? It changes. We suddenly forget with whom we're dealing with. And we're dealing with this question also in our meditation series, because when you go to meditate, you really are making a direct attempt to enter before the king. Many of the mitzvot that we do, we're not so conscious that we're actually standing in front of the king to do the mitzvah. But in meditation, it's conscious and obvious and direct. But either way, it is a preparation, a mental preparation to know before whom we do the mitzvah. And Rabbi Nachman says it's fitting to have busha, to have this positive shame when we go to do a mitzvah. And he goes on to give us some other insights. Because where is our merit to actually do God's will in any shape or form? And how can a person embolden his face to go into the palace of the king to do a mitzvah? Would you just walk into Buckingham Palace and say, I'm here to do the floors? You'd be in jail in 15 minutes. I'm here to wash the king's clothes. I'm here to polish the limousine. Who are you to enter the palace of the king to say, I'm going to do this thing? So that certainly would be strange and odd, but it serves us as a measure of this idea of going in before the king, who is the king of the universe, and saying, I'm going to do this for him. I'm going to do his will here or there or wherever. And to estimate in your mind before whom you are doing this mitzvah. You have to sit and think for a long time to actually estimate in your mind, in your heart, before whom you stand. Right? You're standing in front of everything at once. You're standing in the completely unified, integral Ein Sof Baruch Hu that is in everything and through everything and around everything. And I'm going to go in front of him and do what do his will. Well, it sounds very nice. but it also should have a proper quota of awe and busha. Now, this is something that we have to build. It's not a gift. It is something we have to work on to realize before whom we are standing. You know, it's very easy to feel those feelings when you go before big people. Why do people love going to see famous people? It's exciting to them. You know, I never found it very exciting to sit in line all night for a ticket to a rock concert to go in and see the guy play. And I certainly wouldn't stand outside all night to get tickets to see a politician speak or to see any of these famous people. But people do that and they get a real zip from it. Well, that's because they have a tiny bit of that zip is really supposed to be going to Hashem. That I should feel that way when I go to shul, to stand before the Torah and stand before the King of the universe. But, you know, it's easier before you go to some sporting event or something where other famous people, Basar Vadam, show up, all of a sudden I get transformed. Well, that's because we are people, and it's because we're stuck in our bodies. We don't see the true glory of what is. We only see this external glory of what human beings create. Okay, with God's help. Right? And it goes on to tell us, Gam godol ma'alat mitzvah ba'atzma hi mitzvah ba'atzma yikara me'od asher ein l'sha'er. And also he says that the greatness of the level of doing God's will, of doing a mitzvah, is impossible to estimate. It's very precious. And it's certainly fitting to have this great awe or busha falling upon you. And I don't really have the merits. I don't have the merits to be here. I don't have the merits to put on the king's tefillin in the morning. I don't have the merits to go to the king's house and pray to the king. And so on and so forth. If you look through every mitzvah, we really don't have very much to stand on, except that he's asking us to do it. But that's everything. I don't merit it, but you asked me to do it, so I'll do it. And that kind of sets us in our place a little bit. But we don't have this zchut. I shouldn't think it's coming to me, ever. This entitlement is a huge problem in the spiritual realm. You make yourself an island. When you have entitlement, you're like an island in the ocean. And everything's coming by is for you. And that's it's not a good place. It's not a nice place to be, that island of entitlement. Okay, the real thing that will change us here is joy. That we could still be happy and not feel merit. Most people, their happiness can depend on things. I just did something great, therefore I must be great. So they're happy that they feel great because they did something great. Or the greatness and the happiness are not necessarily linked at all. They linked it up in their own mind. But we can just be happy. I don't have the merit. Okay, I can still be happy. Wow, I don't have the merit and I still have the chance to do the mitzvah. That's even more tremendous. So always remember that happiness transforms everything that it touches. And he goes on, when a person looks at himself, and he sees that he's very far from God, and he has no merit to really do the mitzvah, if a person had a little bit of this holy shame, he would be even embarrassed to take a little bit of food, a little bit of bread, and to put it in his mouth. If you think about a piece of bread, where it came from and how it got to you, from some grain that someone threw into the earth, and it grew with water and fertilizer, etc., and sunlight, and it was harvested and it was processed and it was turned into a piece of bread, how much human energy went into bringing you that bread? And all of it is because God is making the whole thing work. We'd be embarrassed to put food in our mouth. And he brings a famous statement from Talmud Yerushalmi, interesting, but Orla, which Orla has to do with the early fruits that are forbidden to eat. Somebody this Aramaic phrase means man de achal, means somebody who eats something that is not his is embarrassed to look in the face of the one who gives it to him. That is an important phrase to remember. I think I'll give it a little pink highliner. It's a very important phrase, my friends, because this is the source of this whole concept called the bread of shame. The bread of shame is this idea I'm eating somebody else's food. Does that feel good? No. Nobody likes to feel at the other end of the giving. It feels great to give. It doesn't feel so great to receive. Now, sometimes we have to receive, so you feel great because you're relieved from your need. But it doesn't transform the paradigm of being a receiver versus being a giver. So to eat someone else's bread, it's hard to look at their face. And because the person has no merit, he has no merit that even you can say, I'm here on this planet, God, you owe me food. No, he doesn't. You might think he does, but who says? Does God owe you a piece of bread because you're here? Well, if it was the beginning in the Garden of Eden, you might have a stronger argument because we hadn't fallen yet. And there, bread was much easier to get. Nowadays, it doesn't seem so tough, but the bread that we're getting that's so inexpensive is not really very healthy. But nonetheless, and if nevertheless, when he eats of the bread that is not his, he cannot, to gaze in the face of the one who's giving it to you, you should have busha. He should be embarrassed, and he would be like hesitant to put that food in his mouth. And now we go back to the concept we had earlier. The real busha is coming down through this leader, this great hacham of the generation, this person who has real, true humility. It's coming through him on the network of souls. And we get it a little bit from him. So with that busha, I can bear eating the king's bread. And this manhig is Bechinat Moshe, of course. He's this high leader who is spiritually purified. Shemamshich be'orei Torah lekol achad. And his job is to bring down explanations of the Torah to each person. Nimshach busha akol achad. And that draws down more of this holy shame with these new insights of Torah. When you get a new insight of Torah, you don't feel arrogant. You feel it in awe, this holy shame. Wow, this amazing insight of this ancient book has just been delivered to my brain. And if it hasn't happened, it will if you stay with the path. If you do the work the Rebbe is describing, you're going to have those moments. Matan Torah, just like at the time of the giving of the Torah. She'emshich Moshe Torah Israel, at the time when Moses brought the whole Torah down. Now, whether it's one piece of Torah or all 13,000 verses, there's about 13,410 verses, I believe. Whether it's one verse or the whole thing, it's still a new piece of Torah. It's still new, a piece of God's mind and his heart. It's written over there. Why is God giving us this new Torah, this new insight, that we should have this holy shame on our faces to not in order not to sin, in order that we have got year of awe on our faces that we should not sin. And the rages, those are the friends of the sages, right? The sages said, Zeh busha, and this is the shame on our faces, that they're going to keep a person in the right place. Levilti techata'u, that they should not sin. Va'ayinu shehu lahem busha levilti la'asod chayet avon, that they should have this yira on their faces, that they're not going to come to go against God's will. And it's ultimately against their true higher will as well. V'gam afilu levilti techata'u, and even if and also included with this idea of, in order that we should not sin, we should have this awe on his face. Dainu busha, ki afilu kishosim mitzvah tzarich sheyeh lo gam ken busha gedula. You ever feel your face when you see lightning flash in the sky? It's like, wow. Right, that little moment of awe of lightning. Well, each person at their level. But that is a little moment, so to speak, of what we can compare this awe on the face. Ki ech ba'im lachtof tefillin. Because, for example, how is it that somebody comes and just grabs his tefillin off the shelf and puts it on his head? Shehem b'trei kitrei malka, because they are the crown of the king. And if it's really the crown of the king, you don't just throw it on your head in 2 seconds. Lanicham pitom ala rosh, and to suddenly put them on the head. You should have great awe. This holy awe of shame, when he's coming to do this mitzvah, and this busha is drawn through the explanations of the Torah al yidei amanhig. And this is through the manhig. The manhig is the dugma ishi, as we say in Hebrew, the personal example. We are meant to follow him. We are meant to copy him. Now, it doesn't mean I have to wear his hat and his long coat. But I do want what's on his face. I do want that sense of awe, of the presence in what I'm doing and in the world. Like there was at the time of Matan Torah, you weren't reading your newspaper when the Torah was coming down on Har Sinai. The mountain was in flame and fire, and people were terrified. And you would be too if you saw such a mountain. But that busha is there to help us. That awe is there to help us. And at that time, all the Jews that were there at Matan Torah, they merited to this level of holiness and separation. Separation from sin, but even separation from certain mitzvot, like being together in relations. And he says, he brings the famous verse, and they were corrected. They were for 3 days. Moses told them not to be with their wives. And this is the idea of pre-shoot, of separation. Al tigshu el isha, and it says, don't go close to your wife at the time, because there's this extra holiness coming down with the giving of the Torah. And when a person is doing the mitzvah of intimacy, he's very distracted by that, and he's not going to be paying attention to some mountain that's coming down with 10 commandments. And everybody was sanctified with this idea from the separation and the holiness of Moses. Because he was really holy and separated from the physical desires. And because he was able to draw down to them this Torah. And therefore there was drawn upon them this holy separation. And when he merits to this holy shame, azai ro'eh kol achad et rechuko me'Hashem yitbarach. And then what happens is you get to see how far you really are. See, the busha is not feeling bad about myself necessarily. It's seeing how great God is and how far I am from that. And perhaps another piece of the busha is when I think that I'm close, and I'm not. That's a cause for a little bit of shame. And everybody sees his true distance from Hashem. How far he really is from the Holy One. And then, of course, this great era of shame falls upon him. And this busha causes instant tshuva. Because the main tshuva is that I feel embarrassed in front of God. God is so great, and how could I go against His will? In whatever level that you're at, great or small. And tshuva, now he's going to go to a new level, a very interesting level. I don't think we're going to properly cover it today. But tshuva, he says, is the aspect of chayim. That's why after you cry out to God and you pray, you actually feel new life. Because you're drawing down new life into you by prayer and by feeling this busha before God. And look, do not mourn the fact that it goes away from you. It's designed to go away so that you get it again. And each time you get it, you become newer and newer and newer. And each time your mind expands more and more and more. It is a gradated process. It is not one streamlined experience that once you get awe of God, it stays with you. No, it leaves you. You wake up in the morning feeling like an empty, pitcher, and you got to fill up again with that new sense of awe, and again every day of your life. And when you get that down, and we get over that idea of not having it. We get over the idea that now I should be in awe of God, but I'm not. Okay. The should be I'm not so sure about, because should be can be a guilt trip. But certainly I want to feel new yirah, because the world is new and I'm part of that newness. And so I want to renew the sense of awe that is around me. And that's why it's called chayim, because when you feel life force, when you feel life, you're renewed, at least for that moment. Right? He brought them back and they lived. Now that's from Yechezkel, which I believe is dealing with the revival of the dead, which is the ultimate example of this. And it's also an aspect of the eternal life, the eternal life of the world to come. That every time we do tshuva in this world, we're getting a new life force. But all of that's going into an account that becomes our world to come. So we're building it here, folks. It's not a given. And it's not given over to us by some, Christian concept or Arab, Islamic concept. It is the work that we do here in this very realm of tshuva that creates this life force, and this life force is what it lasts and extends to us into the world to come. So we're going to go over this again tomorrow and continue the idea. The Rebbe is going to expand it again for another couple of columns. And you see that just when we've reached some plateau of understanding, we get a new one. So there is much more to learn here, and we'll look forward to bringing it to you, learning together tomorrow, and every day on Patreon in our daily class. So let your friends know about it, bring them together, let's learn together, and bring this stuff down, because when we live it, it really does change your life. It really does make you happy to be who you are, and no matter what your circumstances, because you have the truth. You have the truth of what to do. And we see the tshuva is not this, I'm going to be a good boy now. I'm going to be a nice guy now. Okay, I'll stop doing bad things. Those are all important, but they're nothing compared to the idea of drawing new life force from the world to come into this world. That we reprocess into energy in this world that helps us do more. And by doing so, we keep building the world to come that will be from those moments of life that we build now, because they're part of this Chaim Nitzchiim, this eternal life. And that's the real butter on the bread of shame. if I have to loop back to the title here, that the butter on the bread of shame is this idea that you feel the shame, but the holy shame, it sweetens you, and it sweetens reality, and it makes it easier to deal with what we have to deal with. And then you don't feel the shame because you know you're part of God's process, and He wants you to go through this. So we'll talk more about it tomorrow. Have a great day, and Hanukkah Sameach. Hopefully we'll be doing a little Hanukkah talk this evening. Before lighting here in Israel, or maybe after lighting, we'll see. We look forward to being with you again. Take care.